Anti-government sentiment continues to build in Pakistan as a coalition of groups seeks to overthrow Imran Khan, claiming that the 2018 election was rigged. Blaming a rise in coronavirus cases, authorities have banned public political rallies. Dr. Farzana Sheikh is Associate Fellow in the Asia-Pacific Programme at Chatham House's Royal Institute of International Affairs, and she joins us out of London. Lovely to talk to you again.
Pleasure.
The government, of course, has been trying to crack down on these protesters because blaming COVID-19, and it has been a serious spread, but it doesn't seem to be deterring this growing groundswell.
No, that in itself is unlikely to as it were, slow the momentum. There are other considerations that are at play when it comes to whether or not these opposition rallies can really pick up. But I think the relationship between COVID-19 and what's happening to these protests is that opposition parties feel very strongly that they are being singled out, that double standards are in force, because when they want to stage rallies, government ministers come out warning that they will spread the virus and endanger the lives of thousands of people. However, the same sorts of warnings do not go out in such a stern fashion when it comes to religious parties wanting to stage similar rallies. And we had this a few days ago with one of Pakistan's religious groups coming out, demanding that the government break relations with France over the publication of these allegedly blasphemous cartoons and France's alleged Islamophobia. Routes to the capital, Islamabad, were blocked, but there were really, no instructions that went out to these religious parties and groups not to hold rallies. So that's where opposition parties in Pakistan feel today that they are being targeted, singled out and discriminated against.
Yes. Is there any truth to the claims that the election was rigged?
Well, I think what needs to be understood about these elections, and I'm talking about the elections in 2018, is that the process leading up to polling day was widely seen to be unfair. For example, everything was skewed against the ruling party. The ruling party at that time, the Pakistan Muslim League, led by a faction of former Prime Minister Sharif, was actually expected to win. In the event, it lost, and lost badly, leaving the current Prime Minister with Imran Khan with a very slight majority. And it was widely felt at that time, both by human rights groups in Pakistan, election observers in Pakistan, but also international observers from the European Union, who absolutely and clearly stated that that parties had been denied what was called equality of opportunity and fair polling leading up to election day.
It was a position Imran Khan pursued relentlessly. He wanted to be Prime Minister and had several attempts at it. How would you judge his time in power?
Well, I think, 2.5 years in his term in power, I think, the consensus amongst observers is that he has shown to be someone who is really quite out of his depth, leading a government that has been exposed as inept at governance. And, for a party and a prime minister that is widely seen to have been nurtured by the all-powerful military in Pakistan, this does present risks because, of course, the moment he is seen as a political liability, not so much by his constituency out there, the electorate, but by the institution that backs him, his political fortunes are likely to decline. And that's really the risk.
But that's an interesting point, though, because if he is in bed with the military and the military want him there almost as a puppet, as he's been described, does he remain untouchable?
Well, I think there are many people who feel that, at the moment, he's likely to hang on in there. That doesn't, of course, mean that he is invulnerable. I think what is clear is that there are signs that the military would like to do some kind of, well, at least open talks with opposition parties, negotiate. I mean, Pakistan's economy is in free fall. The military is desperate for some kind of stability. But Imran Khan, of course, has resolutely refused to talk or engage in any sort of dialogue with opposition parties who he routinely describes as thieves and looters. And I think this has proved to be awkward for the dominant military establishment. And I would go so far as to say that it's even proving to be something of an irritant to Imran Khan's backers.
Very interesting, Farzan.
COVID-19